Hi friends. I am so excited and humbled to be sharing in this video with you the innate design and geometries that have been moving through my being in the last year. I was curious how and when I was going to be ready to share this. And now that I am offering to assist you in bringing through your own innate design and geometries through logo creation, I figured now was the perfect time to allow what I've been marinating in to come through. And so that is all about the 8. This is the only figure, or the only number that is called a figure. And if you look at how it's numerically represented, it quite literally does look like a person. And interestingly, we all, I'm sure, are very aware of how this also is known as the infinity symbol, and interestingly now, the metaverse symbol. And how these two relate to each other. So if this is a figure 8, this is a person standing up. Wouldn't that make this someone sleeping? Very curious. And this came to me back in spring when I had this concept of like Sleeping Beauty really strongly coming through, where I felt like I was Sleeping Beauty, like about to wake up. And I even literally had a dream where I felt myself in an enclosure asleep, and in the dream I was able to wake myself up, and my eyes were still closed, interestingly, but I was able to get up out of the enclosure and start walking, which felt huge for me. And so if this, again, is a sleeping figure, I literally felt like I woke up in the dream, and just everything else I was moving through at that time. So from this place, a figure 8, and knowing that this also is the infinity symbol, seeing these two drops coming together, seeing these two expressions come together in this figure 8, to me it felt like the dualistic nature of this existence, very much so represented here. And to me, what was curious about this, though, is that how does this that's over here really truly experience what's over here when they are really only connected by this tiny little thing that really doesn't allow openness or space, in my opinion? And this relates to this rubber band concept that I've had for a while, where I feel like humanity and us individually, like, we can be a rubber band sometimes, like this, or just like this, where like, how can what's over here like really see what's over here when it's stretched so thin? The viewpoint is a little challenging to really witness what's going on when a rubber band, or when something like this is stretched as far as it is. And so this brought up the concept that I learned from Jilly, the water priestess, or I guess the merchant mermaid now, about X marks the spot. Right in the middle. So being curious about that, you know, like X, where's the treasure? Where is, like if you're going out on sea and have a treasure map and you're looking for the X, like there's gold there, there's something, there's treasure there to explore. And as I was thinking about that, like just literally thinking about the geometry in like 3D space and how like unfurling the X, like allowing the X to open at the X, allowing the X to open at the X, that quite literally creates a circle. And that is like in association too with what I was saying about the rubber band, where if you know you're stretched out so far, how can you see each other? Well, it's about opening up and coming back to a circle so that you can see each other clearly. There's witnessing on all parts of the circle equally. And this whole navigation of what the X is, from being a figure to the infinity symbol, sleeping beauty, X marks the spot, to this existence as a circle. This all showed me that the expression of something is really about its existence and geometry. And what I mean by that is, particularly when it comes to the English language, as I'm sure most of you know, there's spelling magic in how words are formed. And what this also has shown me, it's been in how numbers are formed too. And so this was really kind of taking a step back here and feeling what the 8 is all about. And this brings me back to really over a year ago, when this all started coming to me in the first place, where octagonal geometries were coming through really strongly, particularly in my art. And I would sit down, I would be inspired, and like this geometry would just come through my hand, and I would sit there for up to an hour sometimes, just allowing this to come through. And want to share with you one of those pieces right now. Particularly, this is like all of it, very feminine. And particularly want to show you this center here, where it really starts as 4 and or you can see the 4, but there's also 8 within the center, and the 8 becomes 16, and the 16 becomes 8. So it's this like opening up and coming down, opening up and opening and expanding. And this, for me, correlates with one of the creation stories that I was told years ago about. In the beginning there was 1, and the 1 became 2, and the 2 became 4, and the 4 became 8, and the 8 became 16. And this was affirmed for me recently by Heather of Illuminating the Mystery, where she shared an expansion of that creation story where some indigenous cultures believe that 16 was all of creation. And going with the 1 to the 2 to the 4 to the 8 to the 16, 16 breaks down into 7. And many cultures believe that 7 was, the 16 and the 7 was everything, and the 7 is the El, or God. That one is new for me. Just sharing a little bit of like my journey and communing with others and receiving affirmations on these things. And what this brings up though, with the 16 creating a 7, is what I find to be really beautiful about the number 8 in multiplication particularly, is that it starts at 8, goes down to 1 in the multiplication. So 8 times 1 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16, which equals 7, and then it goes all the way down to 1 when there's 8 times 8. So 8 times 8 is 64, which is 10, which is 1. I love numerology. And then it goes back up to 9, and then it just goes all the way down. So it brings up this equal exchange, like this cycle of equal exchange, continuing to flow up and down. And that's what this drawing was for me, and others have been, of like this coming in and coming out, just like our breath, you know, in and out. And particularly with this multiplication, the 8 times 8 equals 1. And this brings up another creation story that I was recently shared within the last year, where in the beginning of Earth, there were 8 women and 8 men, equals 16. And I don't have much else to share about that, except that it felt and still feels like truth to me. And allow you to, soak in as much of this as you want, and move away from this being curious and pondering everything I'm bringing up. So with all of that being shared, laying down a lot right now, this is all accumulating to something that I am still not understanding of the full implications of, yet this also feels like truth to me. And that is that back on the spring equinox, I was already really in ceremony and about to be particularly on land that was organically facilitating this ceremony. And we were with a friend that has a blue bottle, and on the top of these blue bottles is the hexagon symbol. And I was just in like a meditative state and looking at this blue bottle, and my whole being started to illuminate with this, what I'm gonna call truth, that the original structure of water on Earth is an octagon. And going back a minute, for anyone that may not know this, there's been water studies, and particularly by Dr. Emoto, where water was charged with various frequencies, and when it was spoken like beautiful things, it created the structure of a hexagon. It's really beautiful. You should check it out. And I've also been to land in Sedona where the owners had their well water tested by Dr. Emoto, and it was also hexagonal structures. So within these studies and tests, it can seem that the original structure or the innate design of water is a hexagon, and going from like the 6 to the 8, that's 75%. 6 to 75% of 8. And that is just like the earth and our bodies that are generally well known to be 75% water. And so what does this mean? I'm not sure. I've been pondering what that would be like to be 100% water on this earth. And for me, I've felt what it's like to be all water. I feel like the spirit is and that to me like really drives to sound. Like I feel like everything is sound. And so this is really kind of an open-ended question and pondering as I continue to do myself with this, is what does that mean if we were all water? Whether that, is really a physical representation, or if it's really our remembrance, if we're truly able to witness ourselves in our wholeness. And that brings up one other thing as well. That I've been really enjoying this symbol down here, where it feels like a more true representation of the 8, where the 8 feels entangled in a way. And when we open up at the X and create a circle, we are able to relate to other circles in our wholeness, and we create something together. This looks like the voice, going back to everything being sound, and also the yoni, the portal, where we are able to create and birth new life. Yeah, that's what really feels like truth to me, is this ability to come back into our wholeness and remember ourselves as beings of water, beings of sound, and to honor ourselves and each other and the earth and all beings in this way. This has been fun for me. It's been such an unfolding to navigate, and it feels really beautiful to share it all with you. I would be so curious to hear from you what resonates, what doesn't resonate, what you are curious about, what you might go continue to explore further from this. And yeah, I just want to share, this is what lights me up. It's fun, and it's so curious to go into these symbols and patterns and just parts of our life that are there on the daily, and to be curious about them and explore their origins and what they mean and how it relates to us and our existence. There's so much to dive into, and And I feel like me really owning this and sharing this is giving myself permission to continue going in even deeper. So thank you. Thank you for receiving this. I love you.